The Arabian Nights in New York. H.P.B. and Colonel Olcott at the Lamasery, by Claude Bragdon. Published 1910. Supernal wonders, romantic adventures, in an appropriately romantic setting, make their due appeal to the imagination, but to the true connoisseur in such matters the element of surprise and contrast is lacking. Knights and dudies are the natural denizens of medieval forests. Indeed, when one comes to think of it, no enchanted realm is complete without its enchanters. But what say you, O romance lover, to Mahatmas and nature spirits at the corner of 8th Avenue and 47th Street? Yes, in a New York flat, with a steam radiator in every corner. Here we have a higher power of romance, the new, the true romance, the spirit of the world engaged in building new temples for its worship amid the fopperies of the town. At the Lamasery, the Theosophical Society's headquarters in those early days, where lived the two founders, there were phenomena fresh every hour, or nearly. I will not arouse the latent skepticism of the reader by attempting to describe these happenings. If he cares for details he may glean them from old diary leaves, and other contemporary chronicles, but one extraordinary incident I must narrate, because it is important in the history of the society, and because it gives a glimpse, indeed, a full-length portrait, of one of the prime movers, not the founders before the world, but the true founders, the men behind. On a certain night the Theosophical twins had finished their evening's work on Isis, H.P.B. had retired to her room, and the Colonel had sat him down to a pipe and to Stephen's travels in Yucatan. Nothing in the evening's incidents had prepared him for any marvel, his mind being bent solely on his book. All at once, as he read, there came a gleam of something white in the right-hand corner of his right eye. Let him describe what followed. I turned my head, dropped my book in astonishment, and saw towering above me in his great stature an Oriental clad in white garments, and wearing a headcloth or turban of amber-striped fabric, hand-embroidered in yellow floss silk. Long raven hair hung from under his turban to the shoulders, his black beard, parted vertically on the chin in Rajput fashion, was twisted up at the ends and carried over the ears. His eyes were alive with soul fire, eyes which were at once benignant and piercing in glance, the eyes of a mentor and a judge, but softened by the love of a father who gazes on a son needing counsel and guidance. He was so grand a man, so imbued with the majesty of moral strength, so luminously spiritual, so evidently above average humanity, that I felt abashed in his presence, and bowed my head and bent my knee as one does before a god or a godlike personage. A hand was lightly laid on my head, a sweet though strong voice bade me be seated, and when I raised my eyes, the presence was seated in the other chair beyond the table. He told me he had come at the crisis when I needed him, that my actions had brought me to this point, that it lay with me alone whether he and I should meet often in this life as co-workers for the good of mankind, that a great work was to be done for humanity, and I had the right to share in it if I wished, that a mysterious tie, not now to be explained to me, had drawn my colleague and myself together, a tie which could not be broken, however strained it might be at times. He told me things about H.P.B. that I may not repeat, as well as things about myself that do not concern third parties. How long he was there I cannot tell, it might have been a half-hour or an hour, it seemed but a minute, so little did I take note of the flight of time. At last he rose, I wondering at his great height and observing the sort of splendour in his countenance, not an external shining, but the soft gleam, as it were, of an inner light, that of the spirit. Suddenly the thought came into my mind, what if this be but hallucination, what if H.P.B. has cast a hypnotic glamour over me? I wish I had some tangible object to prove to me that he has really been here, something that I might handle after he is gone. The master smiled kindly as if reading my thought, untwisted the jetter from his head, benignantly saluted me in farewell and was gone, his chair empty. I was alone with my emotions. Not quite alone, though, for on the table lay the embroidered headcloth, a tangible and enduring proof that I had not been overlooked, or physically befooled, but had been face to face with one of the elder brothers of humanity, one of the masters of our dull pupil race,